Welcome back to Whispering Shadows, where we bring you the latest and greatest in entertainment. If you're a fan of true crime documentaries, 2024 is already shaping up to be an incredible year. From gripping investigations to shocking revelations, these new releases will keep you on the edge of your seat. In this video, we're counting down the best true crime documentaries of 2024, so grab your snacks and get ready to dive in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing content. Let's get started! By the time Julius Caesar died with the words on his lips, political assassinations were already a common occurrence. But have they become rarer in modern times? Was the attempted assassination of former U.S. President Donald Trump an outlier event in modern democracies? The short answer is no. The United States, of course, that includes Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, and his brother Robert F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., But assassinations are relatively common outside the U.S. as well, and only rarely do they bring about the radical changes the killer desires. What counts as an assassination? An assassination is the murder of a prominent, powerful individual, particularly a political figure. Rarely random attacks, assassinations are an extreme form of protest based on the assumption that removing a single individual will change the political landscape. And more recently, Ronald Reagan. Yet, not all political killings are assassinations. For instance, states frequently order extrajudicial targeted killings, something that is regrettably. And the state has orchestrated a large number of fatal poisonings, shootings, plane crashes, and defenestrations. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau recently accused India of ordering it in Canada. Journalist Jamal Khashoggi was inside the Saudi embassy in Istanbul, an execution that U.S. intelligence agencies the Saudi Crown Prince approved. Uncovering the truth, who betrayed Anne Frank? Fallout of the Cold War, Ozersk City 40, the other Chernobyl. For its part, the U.S. has repeatedly used extrajudicial targeted killings against high-profile targets, such as September 11th mastermind, also regularly uses lethal violence against targets outside its borders. Assassinations, however, are often seen as acts of unofficial violence committed by those outside the structures of the state. Usually committed by individuals who oppose the direction taken by political leaders, assassinations reject the notion that states alone have This is often referred to as a state monopoly on violence. The evolution of political assassinations in the heyday of Europe's powerful monarchies prior to the 20th century, revolutionary groups used assassinations to make clear to the people that, for all of their power, the rulers of the day were mortal too. According to, revolutionaries tried to kill nearly every major European ruler and head of state in the late 1800s. For example, in an act of what some anarchists called propaganda by deed, Tsar Alexander II was murdered by the Russian Revolutionary Group in 1881. Their Italian comrades then successfully killed of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1898. Archduke Ferdinand and his wife in Sarajevo in June 1914, shortly before their assassination by Gavrilo Princip. Walter Tausch, CC by SA 3.0. Other assassins of the time were fervent nationalists. Perhaps the most famous of these was the Serbian P, whose murder of the Habsburg Archduke Franz Ferdinand led to the First World War. After the war, fascist and proto-fascist paramilitaries in Italy and Germany also used political assassinations as a part of their terror. The socialists Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht, for example, were murdered by Rin Berlin in 1919. Before Italy slipped entirely into fascist dictatorship, the prominent socialist was assassinated by Benito Mussolini's goons in Rome. During the Second World War, resistance groups also used assassinations against the Nazis. The killing of Reinhard Heydrich, the SS chief who played a key role in carrying out the Holocaust, in Prague in May 1942, is today in the Czech Republic. In the decades that followed the war, ultra-left began to embrace the political tactic of assassinations enthusiastically. In Germany, for instance, the assassinated leading bankers, industrialists, politicians, and others from the 1970s to 1990s in the hope of fomenting revolution. A similar group in Italy, the murdered Prime Minister Aldo Moro in 1978. In the US, Sarah Jane Moore also sought to spark a revolution with her attempt to assassinate President in 1975. Just 2 weeks after the Manson family member Lynette Squeaky Fromm had tried to do the same thing, killing for the nation. While these revolutionaries resorted to violence to achieve their goals, assassinations by ultra-nationalists have also continued unabated. Just a few months after India gained independence from Britain, the resistance leader was assassinated by an extremist who felt Gandhi had promoted Muslim-Hindu unity. More high-profile political killings followed in India. Prime Minister 1, who was killed by her Sikh bodyguards in 1984, after she ordered military action against Sikh separatists and her son, Rajiv Gandhi, a former prime minister who was assassinated while electioneering in 1991 by a suicide bomber after relations between the separatist movement and the Indian government soured. In 2007, Benazir Bhutto, the former prime minister of Pakistan, survived one assassination attempt, a bombing that killed 180 people, before being killed in another. The reasons for the assassination. Some believe she was by Islamists angry at her closeness to the West. Others believe then-President Pervez Musharraf wanted to be rid of an inconvenient rival. Musharraf was later charged in her killing. He denies any responsibility. Elsewhere, ultranationalism was the motivation for the assassination of Israeli Prime Minister by a right-wing ultra-Zionist in 1995. Rabin was killed, as of Egypt had been before him, for attempting to move towards a peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians. For the effect his killing had on the shape of the contemporary Middle East, some have labeled it sadly, assassinations remain all too common in Africa today. There were 185 assassinations on the continent in 2019 and 2020 alone, mostly of politicians, civil society and community leaders, and journalists. It's estimated that 80% of assassinations in Africa are politically motivated. Latin America is also frequently rocked by assassinations. In recent years, the anti-corruption presidential candidate was murdered in Ecuador, apparently by figures linked to powerful drug cartels. And then presidential candidate was stabbed during a rally in Brazil, an attack believed to have helped him win the 2018 election. Jair Bolsonaro reacts after being stabbed during a rally in September 2018. Chrisley Matiola CC by 3.0. Assassinations in the West. Assassinations also continue to be a common occurrence in liberal democracies, despite having more stable governments overall. The reasons for these vary, though in recent years, many politicians have been targeted by right-wing extremists. In Japan, was assassinated in 2022 by a lone gunman who had a grudge against a church he believed the ex-prime minister had supported. In Germany, a conservative politician was murdered in 2019 by a right-wing extremist violently opposed to his pro-migration policies. A far-right extremist was also behind the killing of British MP in 2016. Earlier this year, Slovakia's prime minister was seriously wounded by a gunman with connections to right-wing groups. Conversely, it was a far-right politician who was assassinated in the Netherlands by a fellow citizen outraged at the way Fortuyn had scapegoated Dutch Muslims for political purposes. An end to assassinations? As long as disgruntled people outside the political process feel that something can be gained by killing a prominent individual, assassinations will continue to be a macabre part of the political landscape. State-sanctioned extrajudicial killings seem likely to continue as well. But as the bomb-throwing anarchists of the early 20th century came to, killing an individual political figure rarely brings about the widespread change the act desires. It is impossible to assassinate a system, a structure, a movement, or an idea. Real political change requires more complex forms of engagement than the shortcut of the assassin's bullet. And that wraps up our list of the best new true crime documentaries of 2024. Which one are you most excited to watch? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Whispering Shadows, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.